Influential proxy advisory firm Institutional Shareholder Services, ISS, endorsing activist investor Nelson Pelts and his efforts to make changes at DuPont. What does this mean for the company and its stock? Our very own Charlie Gasparino joining us with the latest.
I mean, we foreshadowed this last week. Fox Business was first to report that the report from ISS was coming out this week. As you know, it came out yesterday and agree with a lot of stuff that Nelson Peltz wants regarding DuPont, including the fact that he wants 2 board seats. He wants 4 board seats. They gave him 2, but they put Nelson Peltz on the board, and that's key. That's what ISS recommended. Now, ISS is not the final word. It's a recommendation. It's an influential one.
How many people listen to it?
Just about every institutional investor in America listens to it. Now, whether they follow it or not is another story. We'll know that in May. But here's what we do know from inside Nelson Peltz's organization, that they are girding Nelson Peltz's for a very long, protracted war with DuPont on this. Listen, they want massive structural change at DuPont. This is a 212-year-old company, one of the sort of biggest companies in America. Well, you know, an historic company, DuPont is. I think they were created making, I think it's gunpowder. That's their first chemical that they created, and now they're a multinational, international
founded by
company.
the French. There were some French people involved there.
Yeah, and Pierre DuPont was, big names in American history and corporate finance. But, it's a $65 billion market cap. Nelson Peltz thinks it could be bigger. There's shareholder value there because there's so much overlap and the company needs to be broken up. So big thing that's going to come out of this is a war, the war between Nelson Peltz and DuPont, and he is girding for a long battle with them. One of the interesting aspects is that, well, Nelson, soaks up a lot of the sort of attention from us.
Yeah.
His number 2, the other guy they got on this that he wants to be put on the board is a guy named John Myers, a guy I know very well, longtime GE executive. I would say this, when you talk to people in corporate America about Nelson Peltz, a secret weapon here, they say it's John Myers, one of the best investors that I've met, really smart guy, solid citizen, 2 tours in Vietnam, pretty tough guy. And I will say this, there's no better team to have on that board than John Myers and Nelson Peltz if you think that Nelson Peltz is doing the right thing. These guys are going to work very hard. And here's what I would say else about John Myers and Nelson Peltz. They're not in there for a quick fix. They're in there to fix, to engage with management. I don't believe they'll call for the CEO to resign. That's generally not what they do. That's usually a last-ditch attempt.
Even though there's a little bit of scorched earth here?
Oh, and there's a lot of bad blood so far. Yeah. Jeffrey Sonnenfeld was the Yale law professor, was in the middle of some of that, siding with DuPont and trying to take shots at Nelson Peltz. But ISS kind of ended that argument by saying Nelson Peltz is making some very good recommendations. So here we are. This is going to be a long battle. The next phase of it, obviously, is in May with the shareholders' votes. Between that time and now, you'll see John Myers and Nelson Peltz behind the scenes meeting with investors and trying to get them to vote for them in those board seats. And if they get in those board seats, that's where stuff gets really interesting. They're going to be right there at the table advocating for changes, which are major changes to DuPont. They want a breakup of the company.
Charlie, I know you had heard about the news that Twitter shares had been halted. They are still halted. And it's news pending, but now they have officially released their numbers. We're looking through them at the moment, but there was an early accidental release, apparently, and a couple of websites, at least one of them got it, and then it spread through the markets. The stock began to fall rather precipitously, as you can see.
Is the earnings that bad?
Still halted. It was a miss on revenue as far as I could understand it. Go ahead, Mark. They came in with 7 cents a share. Is that adjusted? Okay, we're just waiting on the actual revenue number, but the earlier number that I saw looked like a miss for the expectations of what people had really wanted to see from Twitter. So at the moment, as we wait on the actual news, you can see that we're keeping Twitter on our drop-down corner menu right there. As soon as it starts to trade again, then you will see that happen. Charlie, thank you.
That does not give me a lot of hope for Twitter management if they can't handle their news release.
Yes, some pretty big companies have seen mispunt. Intel once had an early release by accident, I think last year. But
no, you got to earn their bones first.
Yeah.
They haven't earned it yet.
Thank you, Charlie, very much. In fact, breaking news. Let's go.